It's now 10:32. Welcome to this month's Transportation Committee meeting, subcommittee. After taking January off because we didn't have anything to do. David, were we posted successfully?
Yes, we were.
In accordance with the Brown Act, and we have two public comments. We have one public comment online. What do we got here?
We have one in person, and then we had three that were written and submitted ahead of time.
Very well. Sheena.
Are you?
All right.
Do I physically go somewhere?
We have the podium and a microphone so the viewers at home can listen.
Do I hold the mic?
Yes, sounds like it's on already.
Good morning. Oh, there we go. I'm Shayna Alkvist. I'm a mother of two from Hawthorne, and today I'm speaking on behalf of South Bay Forward. So I'm here to share South Bay Forward's assessment of the January 22nd Metro Board vote on the CK line extension to Torrance, and most importantly, to identify how we can collectively move forward towards a deliverable rail project for the South Bay. So South Bay Forward speaks independently as a nonprofit organization. We do not speak for Metro, for any individual city, and for coalition partners. So my focus today is not relitigating that vote, but addressing project delivery, interjurisdictional coordination, and implementation risk following the board's decision. Those are a lot of big words for so early. Everybody should be very impressed. So we strongly support advancing construction immediately on buildable segments of the project, especially south of 190th Street within Metro's existing right-of-way. So just as a refresher on this project, and it's important to clarify what is and is not contested. So there was this disagreement over one portion of the route, the decision to shift part of the alignment to Hawthorne Boulevard. That decision introduces additional approvals and is likely to cause delays. However, other portions of this project were never disputed and are ready to move forward now. So in particular, the segment south of 190th Street, which runs within Metro's existing right-of-way, is not affected by the additional entitlements, property acquisition, or interagency approvals required for Hawthorne Boulevard. So because of that, the construction on this segment can begin immediately. Many of the advocates who successfully pushed for Hawthorne Boulevard alignment have consistently stated that they support transit in the South Bay. So based on that shared commitment, we believe there is agreement that this work can and should begin now, rather than waiting for more complex approvals required elsewhere. We're glad that the Metro Board certified the final environmental impact report, but at the same time, we want to acknowledge that two things can be true. We appreciate the FEIR was certified, but we are disappointed by the alignment decision and concerned about uncertainty around the next steps, timelines, and delivery. From a delivery perspective, the Hawthorne decision introduces substantial new complexity and risk, including dozens of additional interagency approvals, acquisition of 13 commercial properties, and construction impacts affecting roughly 60 times more residents and businesses than the right-of-way alternative. These factors may seriously delay rail to the South Bay, and we believe the scale of these challenges were significantly underestimated at the time of the vote. So what we're asking as this project advances is to advance what is buildable now, commit to transparency as the design advances. So in the coming months and years, we'd like to see updated schedules and budget estimates to reveal the compounding challenges associated with Hawthorne Boulevard. And lastly, cities, businesses, transit riders, and community organizations must have a meaningful seat at the table as design, construction, staging, and first and last mile planning proceed. South Bay Forward remains.
Shayna, your time is up.
Thank you.
That we admire your optimism. At $378,000 per foot, this train is going to be really impressive. $378,000 per foot. A lot of homeless people could live for $378,000, but we'll spend it on a train. Go ahead.
The letters, and Shayna just said something, which I think needs clarification. The line is at 15% design. The line is at 15% design. It is not ready for construction. I don't think any segment, correct me if I'm wrong, Metro people, but it's the whole thing. The next step is to take it to 30% design. So it's not designed yet. It can't go to construction.
Next up, Ray Holler.
I'm Ray Haller, Lawndale homeowner and retired aerospace engineer. I'm going to speak about the C-Line extension to Torrance, now called K-Line South, extension to Torrance. Regarding a potential, so I have good news. First piece of good news is that thank you and Ms. Bacharach, like she kind of took my thunder here, because both the DEIR and the FEIR said that the design maturity was 15%, 15%. For some reason, they didn't upgrade that. And I forget what the terminology is, advanced conceptual design, they called it at FEIR. But to me, the good news about that is that leaves like theoretically 85% for design to be performed, which hopefully can be used to address some of the risks that some people have mentioned about the Hawthorne option, which is now the LPA. Work along the 405 freeway and work along down towards 190th, where I certainly wouldn't, I would hope that there's design upgrades that can be made to make both of those sections easier and more palatable in mitigating the concerns that some other people have talked about. Okay. Now I was going to talk about funding, because there was a funding plan shown for DEIR period for both Hybrid Row and Hawthorne Boulevard. That was, and then at FEIR, there was a little update to the funding for the Hawthorne Hybrid Row, but not for the Hawthorne update. For the Hawthorne option, they just didn't bother having a funding plan for that at all. Excuse me. And what I remember from the DEIR period is that there were more in those funding profiles. There was more allocation for the Hawthorne option from Measure M, because the escalation was farther out. It's kind of a funny thing where the Metro staff team, they ran up the cost for escalation or inflation, they call it, on the Hawthorne option, but they didn't take into account the extra funding they could get for that. So that's a little bit of good news, and the difference is $50 million. Okay, so the last thing I want to say is that 1 week after the decision to go with the Hawthorne option, 1 week after, there is new construction in Lawndale along the road. There's a lot across the road from me, an oversized lot, and the guy had got plans approved about 3 years ago. I've been talking to him along the way. He's kept track. He said he would keep track, and it seems like as soon as that decision was made, they started clearing that lot. So that's good news. 3 pieces of good news. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Holler. We have a public comment online from Christopher Truman. Mr. Truman, you may come up. The floor is yours.
Fantastic. Good to chat with everybody. I wanted to mostly just ditto Shayna's comment about some of the excitement around getting the FEIR approved. And while I have my concerns, I'm excited to see the Hawthorne project successfully built. I wanted to comment on some discussion I saw about the selling of the Row property. I wanted to request specifically that there's some thought put into not selling that property and keeping it in Metro ownership until we have the current project locked down, just so that we do have options going forward. Wanted to make sure that the COG is considering that and giving proper recommendation when that comes up for discussion. But otherwise, just wanted to double down on that. I know there's disagreements on whether the property is actually ready to build and funded, but just wanted to echo what Shayna was mentioning. Thank you.
What's that?
You want me to respond to that park?
To the Lawndale Park question? I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand.
You want me to respond to the issue about selling the land?
Sure.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know why Ara brought that up. I'm
Yeah, can you
sorry.
go to the mic up there, the podium?
I don't know why Ara brought that up. I guarantee you the board would never sell that property. It just wouldn't go on, and part of the motion was amended to make sure that the board committed to not selling the property. But why he brought that up out of the blue, I have no idea.
Very well.
It's on. Somebody did.
All right. The green line, the gift that keeps on giving.
And we'll get for a long time.
What would we have to talk about without it? $378,000 a foot. Money to burn. All right, consent calendar. Now we have no further public comment. We had a few that are in your packets, mostly people really unhappy. Consent calendar. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Let me know first. Guardian on second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, very well. Working groups, IWG. Who'll present on this, David? Are you gonna take this for Eric?
Yes, I can. Actually, wasn't at the last IWG, but they primarily talked about the Measure R program update, which is on your agenda a little bit later.
Let's see.
Yep.
All right, transit operators is Dana.
Dana is not here. They actually were dark last month. So no meeting.
Very well. Mr. Zerlip, Metro Service Council.
I'm here.
I see you.
We actually met already this
Look at
month.
this hat. Look at it.
We already met this month. We're now on our meet the first Monday of the month at 5 o'clock. We discussed the June service. We discussed. Sorry. That better? We discussed the June service changes, which are strangely affected by the World Cup. Metro doesn't want to make the service changes at the beginning of June because World Cup attendance starts later in that month. But they have to go out and get the union approval to implement those changes on about July the 16th. So that's still up in the air as to what's going to happen. We talked about Senate Bill 707. I don't even want to explain how ridiculous that bill is. We decided that we weren't going to participate. Really, that's all. We had some regional updates. I will say we also had last week a meet and confer. I don't know if you people are aware, but on a quarterly basis, all of the service councils are invited to meet with the CEO, and in her absence, the deputy CEO. And I just have to say that whatever process you're using here to choose members of our committee, we traditionally have the largest attendance. Again, we had 6 members. We had a full quorum at this meeting, and that's not unusual for us. So I think you're doing the right thing. We got people that are dedicated to serving on the Metro Service Council. Thank you.
That's great news. And delighted that we're opting out of a Senate bill. I didn't know that was an option. Are there other ones we can choose to not do? Because there's
You aware of that bill?
I'm gonna look it up now to make sure I don't do that.
You don't want it.
It's the Brown Act.
Oh, that one?
modification,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, that's it.
That's right.
The superlative.
Don't you want to have remote meetings where everybody has to post the agenda everywhere except the elected officials? They actually have to be in.
You have to actually show up and pick a random language to translate into 16, whether you have people who speak it or not. It's great. I do have a bus question about the major events. I was at a meeting on the sideline of the Conference of Mayors, and some members from the Department of Transportation asked how we were reconciling the different access systems, because we're borrowing all these buses from different jurisdictions. Like there's like all these buses coming in from Utah that all have different charging formulations, different access tap codes, different driver certifications. Are there things that we need to be mindful of in that? And are there things about transporting buses in from around the country that are there added fees or things that we're gonna have to be on the lookout for?
I must tell you, that's all in the hands of the Olympic Committee. We don't have any information other than they're bringing all these buses in. I can tell you that at least the J line is now more than 50% electric. Of course, the buses, instead of being 45 seaters, are all 40 seaters. So they're working on trying to figure out how they're getting everybody there one way or the other. And the buses are charging at the South Bay or the Southern Station normally at this point. So
Very well. The great to be determined of major events continues. Every time I ask a question, I get a less comforting answer. That's great.
Well, right now they're focused on the World Cup. And that's all starting in June, and it really is only going to one location. There is, just for those who are interested, there is a direct shuttle bus that goes right from the LAX Metro Terminal directly to the game site, to SoFi, and that will be operating regularly during the games.
Or you can go from El Segundo.
Well, and they charge you to get on that bus as opposed to going to Dodger Stadium.
That's why we want you to come to El Segundo, so they can charge you. Mouth to feed, my man. All right, Caltrans, Sergio.
Hi, this is Sona.
Hey, Sona, go for it.
Sergio's out on jury duty this week, so I'll be covering for him. From what I know, there's no update since he reported last time, but I just wanted to inform you that the draft 2026 shop is online published. They had a hearing on February 5th for the southern region. They'll have another hearing for the northern region in February 12th. And it'll be moved forward most likely to approve in March CTC. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Any questions for Caltrans? All right, moving on. We have the Measure R South Bay Highway Program, fiscal year 26-27 program for approval. That is Measure C in your packet. David, when you present on this for some of the people at home or we're new here, perhaps we can describe what Measure R is. And similarly, when we start with Measure M, just talk that through, because oftentimes I feel like we get caught in the wickets between the two.
Sounds good. The Measure R was the third countywide sales tax approved for transportation programs. It's the first one of the three that had sort of a sub-regional component to it. The South Bay's is colloquially called the South Bay Highway Program. And in that was originally $906 million. In 2018, the South Bay requested Metro transfer $400 million of that unspent money out to create the South Bay Transit Investment Program. Measure R Transit Investment Program. So now the highway program is a total of $506 million, and the Measure R Transit is $400 million. The transit program updates are synced up to the Measure M, our Measure M cycle. So you will see that all in April when we present the Measure M update. So we do this process once a year to touch base with. We meet with all of our cities, see how projects are going, if there's been any issues, changes, if projects are ready to move into the next phase. And all of that is done in the fall, leading up to this item each year. At this time, we are not soliciting new project requests in Measure R just because there's about $50 million left in available funding, and we have a program of probably, well, you see the chart attachment of probably about 100 projects or so in varying stages of completion. So we want to make sure we work through some of that existing project backload before we program any new funds. And as a reminder, Measure R does expire in 2039. So this year we have 3 actions for 2 different projects. One is the county's ITS improvements on South Bay arterials on Hawthorne Boulevard, Normandy Avenue, and Manhattan Beach Boulevard. In this project, the Measure R funds were a local match to a call for projects project. The county is requesting an additional $1 million to cover some of the construction cost increases. So the South Bay Highway Program funding share will be $3.421 million if this is recommended for approval. And then the next 2 are technically 2 separate projects, but they on the program, but they're about the same construction project. The project itself is an integrated corridor management project led by Metro, 312.84 on the 105 freeway. I don't know if you all recall, maybe 7 or so years ago, there was that really big car fire on the freeway that kind of closed all the lanes down. This was a proposal in response to that to kind of integrate all of the freeway and local systems, so that if another situation like that was to happen again, there's kind of a process in place to help start diverting traffic around the incident on the freeway. Metro's been in the planning and design phase of this project for a few years now. It's, as you can imagine, trying to integrate many local systems into a larger system takes a lot of planning process. They're in the design phase now. We'll be moving into construction. They're requesting 3.65 million in additional funds. The second part of that project is 31286. Certain projects that take place on Caltrans right of way, which obviously the 105 is. Caltrans requires what they call an independent quality assurance, an IQA, essentially to make sure Metro's doing it right. Metro and Caltrans have determined that was not necessary anymore for that project, so we're de-obligating the 150,000 that was in 31286 for that process. So that money is going to go away since that's no longer needed, and it'll just return to the pot. So the three actions altogether, it's a recommendation for 4.5 million additional Measure R funding. If approved, we will have about 47.8 million available for future cycles through 2039.
You didn't mention that when Measure R ends, that half cents does not go away. It becomes part of Measure M.
Yeah. Essentially, Measure R goes away, disappears, so that half a cent would theoretically disappear, but Measure M coincidentally doubles at that same mark. So there's no net change in sales tax for transportation. Measure M just goes to a whole cent at 2039.
A temporary county sales tax that never disappears? Be still my heart.
It technically disappeared. It just is manifesting in a different measure.
Sunrise, sunset.
That's right.
Do we have questions on these pieces?
Sure. I have a question. Was the 105 corridor, did they underscope it? I mean, this is a substantial ask.
Not under scoped, no, it was just typical. I mean, this is a 6-year-old project now, so the initial cost estimates have dealt with inflation, and they actually did upscope it a little bit to incorporate where the 105 and the 405 intersect. They now have a little bit of the 405 north and south, so it's a little bit larger of a scope than when they first recommend. We signed off on that a few cycles.
We agreed to that
Yeah.
scope creep?
Yeah.
Because that's what, a 15% increase. That's more than an inflationary increase.
Yeah, and this is, now that they've gotten closer to the end of design, they have harder construction estimates than they did 2 or 3 years ago when we kind of touched base last.
If this was one of our city agencies, we would be raking them over the coals for this. Right? I mean,
We would ask.
I mean, Lomita would never scope us badly, but if they did, we would beat them up over it.
They don't pick on us.
I bet you're right here. You're the one I can see.
Okay, do we, I mean, we have, does anyone have any other questions on any of these Measure R items?
And from a process standpoint, if you recommend approval, it'll go to our board at the end of this month. And then it'll get transmitted to Metro for action. I think they're gonna be dark in June now, so maybe their July board meeting. This will be acted on.
I mean, look, I don't want to be cranky, but I'm mildly cranky because it's Monday. But like the one item they're removing is the independent quality review. Well, they tell us they underscope by 16%. I mean, it's kind of a remarkable duality. We don't need a third party to look at how badly we did this.
I think the determination that was not necessary was not Metro's sole decision. It was done in consultation with Caltrans.
Yeah, that's really a heartwarming tale. That's right. Just tell me there's a bike lane involved. Yes, please, District 2.
Is this the first time they're asking for increase in their budget?
I believe there was one other one, like 2 or 3 years ago when they added the 405 scope
A
in.
scope increase?
Yeah, I
Okay.
believe so.
I don't think we have been, in my opinion, adequate, and this is us, adequately keeping a history of the projects. So we're gonna start doing that now, so that when you ask a question like that, we have a history and we can tell you what the, because these things are going up and up and up, and it'd be interesting to know how they started and how they're ending.
Yeah, and past decisions that we
Right.
made.
Right.
Because
We'll be doing that.
wasn't there a piece they needed somebody to do further integration with the signals on the surface streets or something? I think that was on this project 2 years ago, right?
That was,
I mean, that's the general nature of the project. I don't know exactly what you're thinking of, but the nature is integrating the system so they talk to each other.
lately, you cannot do anything on freeways anymore unless you do something on the surface streets. That's the new thing.
Okay, agreed, out of bike lane, always out of bike lane, one down out of bike lane.
That's right.
Okay, would anyone like to move approval, not move approval, or any of the following on the Measure R Highway Program?
They can come back for more money.
Anybody can always come back for more money. It's ultimately your all's decision to approve or.
Well,
to
at some
recommend.
point, at some point, when a project gets a certain, the reason we need to know the history is when it gets a certain level, don't you need to then, isn't there a match that kicks
Yeah,
in?
Metro Site has contributed staff time previously towards the match.
So staff time.
I mean, just like when we do grants, we do in-kind staff time matches.
Well, maybe we have to revisit some, when we get the project history, I think we should then look at what that says. We should come back and do that, and that'll be a couple of months, I guess, right? Able to do a
Come back and do what?
look at the project history of what we've done with all the projects, just sort of assess our project, our process, and if we want to do anything about it. Because there are all kinds of.
That's the question that I don't know what you mean by, but we'll.
I'm not sure I know what I
Okay.
mean until we see it, is what I'm saying.
If you guys recommend something, there's not, I mean, that's the action.
Mhm.
So if you're not comfortable with it, then I would say don't recommend it, I guess.
Well, I mean, we're at that phase of the Robert's Rules portion of the show. Does anyone want to move approval of this? Or parts of it?
I'll move approval, but I think that the action in conjunction with the approval is, again, this brings the total funding to 26.5 million, right? So I think what we're asking for is, what did that start out kind of, and now all of a sudden we're 26.5 million bucks, right? It's just kind of the,
So on our project chart, when we have our charts, if we have something that's the prior allocation and the recommended, if we have a column that just says like where we started,
Date and where we
like the
start.
prior, not just the prior allocation, but the initial allocation. So we could say that the initial allocation was 20 million, then it became 26, now it's become.
We can do that. We'll have to just notate because of the way we program now, we'll program $1 million for, let's say, for design of a project. You then go back and add 10 million for construction. If you just show that 10 million increase, you may not show the rationale for that. So we'll have to
sure.
delineate kind of the differences of a next phase versus a cost increase sort of thing.
Mr. Chair, this is very interesting because this has been bothering me and I've talked to the staff about this, and what I think we should do, don't tell me, is that there's 3 projects here. This is a recommendation to the board. When it gets to the board, maybe we can have the history of at least these 3 projects and they can be annotated and we can understand what's happening with these 3. So you'll see if we've given you information that's helpful and we'll bring it to the board on those. Is that?
yeah, I think it's just informative to the board relative to how do we get, where we're at, right? At least for those 3 projects.
David, is that a doable do
For these,
for these 3?
for these 3, yes.
Just a little bit of case history of them.
Yes, the goal is to do this for every single city projects, metro projects, everybody. That will take a little bit more time. We have all the information, it's just not kept in the same kind of
Yeah.
way that
Right.
would facilitate a quick dump of that.
Yeah, I think you can see the goal here would be just to see if we've got sort of runaway projects, right? They're
Right.
just sort of loitering and continuing to suck funding and allocation. All right, with that in mind, we have a motion on the floor from.
That would include
That would include adding the case history of these three projects to the recommendations. We have a second from Gardena. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, we are recommending approval to the board, the caveat of 3 case histories. Now over to Measure M, and I will note we are 3 minutes ahead of schedule, David, so take all the time you need.
How'd that happen?
We didn't talk about the sea lion long enough.
So,
Ollie's here, wait.
Don't pick on him.
Hay line now.
Sorry, not even green line.
So the Measure M sub-regional program performance audit, I think we might have all told you all about it a little bit as Metro started to propose it. Interestingly, Metro decided to do a performance audit of the sub-regional programs in Measure M. They've never done this for Measure R. And coincidentally, this is about a year or so before the decennial transfer opportunity for Measure M. So timing is a little suspect to the subregions, but we had our kickoff meeting with their audit team, who are consultant auditors. And interestingly, they were just talking about process. They're not going to talk to any of our cities at this point who are leading the projects. We gave them information on what our process is, giving out money, how we score projects, that sort of stuff. Gave them some recommendations on where we find the weak points in the administrative process, working with Metro, getting funding agreements in a more timely manner, that sort of stuff. Have mentioned that it's been improving, but that's kind of where a lot of the delays seem to be historically. Seemed, I don't know, Jack, you were at the meeting. I think at that point, it seemed like it was, I mean, most of the to-do list was done for us at least.
I was very surprised. They didn't seem to know a lot about the process that they're looking at the audit for.
I think they didn't understand, and they didn't realize that all of the subregions do it very differently.
Right.
So San Gabriel Valley, for example, they're building projects, so they have a different probably experience with these auditors than we are having, where we're just giving out money. And so we'll see what the ultimate findings are. But it was an hour meeting that seemed to address all their questions, or answer all their questions.
We educated them.
Yeah.
David, can you give everybody a little bit of background on Measure M?
Sure. Measure M was approved in 2016 as our lovely 4th sales tax. Measure M has 4 sub-regional programs in it, 3 of which are multi-year sub-regional programs. One is essentially almost a clone of the highway program in Measure R. And then there's 2 that are called Transportation System Mobility Improvement Programs, which can fund more like pedestrian and first last mile active transportation types of projects. The highway program in Measure M also can fund the majority of those also, but the TSMIP ones are a little bit broader. We go through a similar allocation process with Metro each year in our cities. The 4th program that we have is the Subregional Equity Program, which is the funding that we currently have identified for the ITC backstop. That one was kind of added last minute by the Metro board at the board meeting where they were approving Measure M. And that one actually, in theory, can fund both transit and highway projects. The other 3 can only fund highway, but not, when we say highway, we don't mean just freeway, we mean street improvements. The equity program can actually fund highway or transit capital projects. The equity program, I'm blanking on the number on the top of my head, but I want to say it's about 350 million in its fully accrued dollars in 2045 or 47, something like that. When we did the action for the ITC project, by the time you accelerated it and discounted it, it was about 108 million, I believe. And Metro gives out a little bit of that money each year. I think so far they've made like 5 million available to the South, to our portion at least. But we haven't played with that money since it's kind of been identified for the ITC already. So the Measure M, the other three MSPs, we're actually kicking off a subcommittee meeting on Wednesday to review the applications that we've gotten. A little preview, it was a very robust request cycle this year. That will likely require scoring to the point where maybe not everybody gets funded this time, which will be the first time we've ever had to not deny a project for eligibility. So
You didn't mention the local allocation program.
yes, something that our board approved last year sometime.
Last year.
Was the local allocation program, and what we kind of do with that is to address some of the geographic equity concerns. Take 10% off of every annual allocation we get from Metro, and every October, Metro gives us what that essentially the fifth year in the cycles funding would be. In October, we got fiscal year 29-30's allocation was about $80 million. Took 10% of that and allocated it to cities by formula. And that's a portion that they will be able to kind of accrue for up to 5 years each year to go towards either their local match for a competitive program project, or if they've got a smaller project that they kind of want to save up some money for and use it towards that. The idea is that for cities that are smaller or don't have the capacity to kind of churn out applications every year, they have some money that they can kind of count on when they have a project that's eligible. It still has to go through the normal review process and eligibility process, but it just doesn't have to compete against anybody else for that little set aside. And I would say we're calling it a pilot in a way. We're going to have touch points every few years to see how it's working, and hopefully it's a good idea. It's sort of at this point, we're sort of a hybrid of what the Las Virgenes Malibu COG does, because they just give out all of their money by formula to cities, and what we've been doing in the past of a competitive process. So, see.
And are they gonna audit aspects of it? I'm usually curious if they're looking for something, or if this is just a business process improvement.
They call it a performance audit, so it's not really looking at the financial side of it. I think they're looking at the process of how what Metro does, what we do. In theory, identifying ways to expedite and smooth out that process.
If they take it seriously, what we said to them is the biggest problem is Metro. That we can't get funding agreements out. And as you all know, a year ago, we had to spend an extra $100,000 on Gardena because Metro didn't do the funding agreement.
Right.
It was our money. So if they want to do a performance audit, they should turn inward.
I mean, it sounds broadly positive. Any questions on
That wasn't on mic.
just to restate that? Ma'am, District 2.
Does Metro not do an audit every year? Is
I think
this new?
they do an audit every year of I think the financial stuff, but not necessarily the MSPs specifically. And this is the first time they've done a performance audit of the MSP program.
And they've never done.
They've never done Measure R.
Sorry, they're going to do a performance of the administrative process?
Yeah, so
Performance of the projects.
So the performance audit is how the programs are functioning, not the financial side of it. So not, are your receipts matching up kind of thing. They're doing it for all of the MSPs in Measure M, so South Bay, all of the sub-regional programs.
Just from not clear what performance of the program. So like what?
So essentially, is Metro in the guidelines? Like if Metro is supposed to provide a certain kind of technical assistance or something, are they doing that? How is the sub-region choosing to allocate funds? Are we following public processes? Things like that. So not.
It's more process.
Yeah, it's more process versus a traditional like financial audit.
So with that being said, is there an opportunity when they're all said and done and do all these audits across the subregions to bring something back and, from an audit report that says, hey, we think this is a good practice, bad practice that we might be.
Yeah, I think that's ultimately what we'd see them kind of produce is some kind of report that goes to a committee at Metro and then a board item. I think The subregion's concerns are, I think, I'll speak broadly for everybody, but if there's unspent funds, they may attribute that to process and then try and take those unspent funds and put them towards something that Metro wants to do as part of this annual transfer. So I think subregions are just a little suspect because Metro has had 15 years to do something similar for Measure R, and has never chosen to do that.
And this came up all of
And this
it.
came up coincidentally in the lead up to the decennial mark in Measure M. And so it's just a little odd, but we'll have to wait and see what the audit reports kind of the findings are. And I mean, if the audit report was to say, well, Metro needs 10 more lawyers in their legal department to help process funding agreements more expeditiously, is Metro gonna have the resources and ability to bring those on? I mean, so you may find recommendations and things if that leads to improvements.
Are they gonna bring us something back before, let's say the results of our audit sub-region before it goes to?
It wasn't clear to me that the subregions will get anything before they have a draft that goes to Metro. Because it's not just a South Bay
I
audit.
understand, it's
They're
just,
trying to, I think, boil it all up to a larger MSP broadly, but because all the subregions do it differently, I'm not sure what that's gonna look like.
Any further questions?
do it.
All right, next, our roundtable discussion on the spotlight presentation for 2026.
Yeah, so,
Before you do that, can I just, there's two things we didn't discuss.
Mike.
Oh, sorry. There's two things we didn't discuss.
I
One
gotta
is-
turn it on, sorry.
Oh, gotta turn it on too.
I mute myself.
Okay, Don, you didn't mention we have three openings for the service council, did you? Right now, we're advertising just for anybody that's interested, and please circulate this if you want the notice. I will send it to you, but and I did send it to the board, so everybody here should have that notice. But, yes, last week. But if you don't have it, I can send it. Anyway.
I'd like to see it.
Oh, and Dolores was supposed to send it to the service council. Okay, I didn't send it to the service council. She's supposed to. Anyway, there are three openings on the service council. The terms on the service council are 3-year terms. So every year, 3 terms come up. The people that are whose terms are coming up are not term limited. They're all interested in staying. So just to be fair, the incumbents do want to remain. And one of them, I think, is our LAX employer. We always have the employee coordinator from LAX we've had for years. And the other is, I think, the Torrance Transit representative. We always have a transit representative. And the third one I'm having trouble with. Oh, the third one, I think, was the recent District 2 representative. So anyway, the openings are till March 21st. So if you know of anybody interested, they can always send me the resume, because I try every year to let people know when the openings come. That's the first thing. Second thing is, there is a bill, which number I don't remember, which is the Metro Board Composition Bill.
SB 220.
SB 220. This was the Van Allen bill. It died. But Metro decided to appoint an ad hoc committee to try to come up with a board composition of their own. The subregions were very, very upset at the board ad hoc committee, because it was composed of, there's a labor representative, I think a business representative, and the city representatives were to represent COGs and cities who are actually spending the money are the Metro board members, but nobody from cities or separately, cities or COGs. We were very upset about this because the city representatives on the board, we did not think were good ways to represent cities. They're already part of the board. One of our members went to the chair of Metro, and we did get a representative, Terry Dipple, who represents the Las Virgenes Malibu COG. So he will now be part of the Metro Composition Committee. And the executive directors are meeting this Thursday to talk to him about how he can best represent cities, because he will be that representative for us. So I just wanted to let you know, we were disappointed, but we think we got a working solution, and you'll hear more. I will bring back more reports on what Terry tells us as he goes to these meetings.
What about the county executive officer? Supposedly he's going to be onto the board very shortly without recomposing the board. Can you talk about that?
At this point, there's no avenue for him or her, whoever that position will ultimately be, to be on the board. Because SB 220 was originally the one that was gonna expand it to all of the supervisors, all the new districts, plus the CEO and 3 of his or her appointees. Since that bill is not passed, Metro is now going through this internal process, which has already existed, to account for an expansion of the Board of Supervisors. So I think if that elected CEO seat exists, it'll come out through this process. So at this time, that person's not allowed to, can't be on the board.
I gotta say, that proposition, that was him and his appointees, adding more supervisors as well, just neuters any input from any of the cities in any way, shape, or form, and it was way out of line. So I couldn't be happier that it has died. I have nothing to say about it, though.
Mr. Chair, Councilman Obashi has.
Redondo Beach.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to, we were talking about the Metro Service Council. I just wanted to flag that there was a member of the Metro Service Council who was on a sorry, I got on here while my wife's on this too. And who was very disruptive at the county Metro board meeting, and then subsequently online engaged in some pretty foul language with regard to me. I realize her social media interactions are probably protected by the First Amendment. I think disrupting decorum at the Metro board meeting, acting out of line, talking out of turn, swearing and the like is not necessarily protected conduct. So at the city, in the city level, we have the ability to remove commissioners when they are not representing the city well. I would say that maybe the COG should consider not immediate action right now, but a mechanism to remove Metro Service Council appointees rather than having to endure them serving, an additional 2 or 3 years, whatever it may be, if they're engaged in foul conduct that's not becoming of the community that they represent.
A quick bylaws question. Is this something that we should be agendizing for a future meeting?
We appoint to the Metro Board, so all we could do would be to ask the Metro Board to take them off. And I don't know, Mike, and maybe you can tell us does the Metro Board have a mechanism to remove sector council members? And can you find out for us?
Yeah, the Metro Board has authority over the service councils. They created them, so there must be some type of disciplinary process to impose on a situation. So I'll check into it.
If you could.
All right, let's tie a string on our finger for the next meeting.
From my experience, the only thing that we have codified is people that aren't showing up. And if they miss 3 meetings in a 6-month period, we can recommend their removal to the board, but it has to be voted on by our group as well to send it forward. I know of nothing else. However, right now, the entire bylaws is being reviewed. So if there's, I don't know beyond what little we can do.
Okay. We will ask them what their rules of the road are. Okay. Our roundtable discussion on spotlight presentations for 2026. Mr. Legere, this is yours.
Yeah, so we've been trying to get somebody from Caltrans and LA28 and just some Olympics related presentations to you all, but which have needed to be rescheduled and that sort of thing. But every year at the beginning of the year, we try and see if there's any kind of topics that you all are interested in us exploring, having a speaker come here to present on. Like in the past, you've had the automated rail cars and things like that. Yeah, any subject matter experts that you've seen speak or anything like that that you think would be relevant to this committee, we'd love to have any kind of ideas that you have now, or if you think of anything, to send them over to us so we can try and coordinate a speaker.
All right, this is a roundtable. Who's got something they want to learn about? I'm super interested in the continuing evolutions of autonomy. So we have things besides, obviously Waymo's the gorilla right now, but there's other programs and projects out there, automated taxi services, things like that. So anything that explores automation or the automated highway trains, right, where they get an automated truck and they hook 3 or 4 of them together, get super efficiency. I know PACCAR's working out of those out of Seattle. So anything on that autonomy, because it's the counterweight to a lot of our projects. Ma'am.
Someone told me that you can buy a Tesla automated car. And now they have a Tesla that you can buy that's automated. And we might want to look into that.
Yeah, any of those items that are, because it's certainly a vibrant spot in the transport economy. Who else has an idea?
Yeah, so at the
Lovita.
Cal City's Transportation, Communications, Public Works Policy Committee last week, or 2 weeks ago, one of the things we heard was from Caltrans on the road change program. And that's where they're looking at, with the increased electric vehicles, we're losing sales tax, right? So they're looking at, hey, what are we going to go do respectively to augment, or how are we going to address that? So that's been in work since 2017. So that may be an interesting topic.
Don.
2 things, if I may. One, to follow up on that, there was a proposal for a mileage tax on everyone. So they're trying to make up for what they're killing on electric cars and not paying gas tax by adding to everyone. I'm interested to know how they're going to measure it, who's going to measure it, and if that is actually going to move forward. The other that I would like to know about is the electric buses. The electric buses are limited in size. They're not necessarily all proved out. Metro has said that they are going to change their entire system to electric buses. Even the regular size buses, as I said before, go from 45 seats down to 40 seats. How are you going to carry as many people as you are even currently carrying when you have no more revenue hours to be able to put people behind your wheel? So that whole future and where they're going to be charging them and the only thing I have heard about the Olympics is that they're taking over District 18, which is one of our key hubs, and making that a complete electric hub with all the other buses from the world. So I don't know how all that's going to integrate and how it's going to end up actually sitting in our system.
District 2?
Just to,
Pass the mic left. Thanks.
just to add to that, I think, has the committee, when's the last time we got an update from Metro on all things Olympics? The games
so
and.
I think Casey was supposed to be here today, I think. And it's,
Maybe we can get an update.
I think she's supposed to be presenting next month now.
Okay, that's already on the books.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's one that's been moving around. I think it was originally supposed to be this month, and she had something come up, so it looks like it's next month.
Fine.
Any other ideas? Sir.
Thank you.
I just wanted to iterate a story that confirms what Jackie mentioned about Tesla having self-driving cars on the market already. It's true. I have a good friend of mine who around Christmas time told me that as a present, he bought his son a self-driving car. It follows a GPS system, and you don't even need to be behind the wheel at all. You just get in the car and it takes you to places. And that is already in operation. The thing is that I said, well, why would you even want to do that? And he says, well, my son's blind. And so the car takes him to his doctor's appointments, takes him to the store, takes him wherever he needs to go. And I think I've always been a little leery of self-driving cars. I go, not that humans are any better at it than computers might be, but to be honest with you, but when he told me that, I changed my whole opinion of self-driving cars. And he says he's a whole person now. He can go anywhere he wants to go on his own. He knows how many steps it is to the curb and the garage and so on. He gets in the car and tells it where to go, and it takes him there. So it's an amazing thing, and it is true. It's in operation already. I don't know how many there are out there, but it's already happening. Yeah. Just want to add that to the story. Thanks.
Right, so I think along with yours, I'm not sure if anybody's mentioned Hawthorne's airport being bought,
Not yet. For the flying cars?
the flying cars.
Hawthorne Airport never been sold.
Well, I'm not sold, but it's being taken over by a company that's gonna put,
Arch.
yeah, Archer. So that might be something you wanna know.
Yeah, there's an intersection of infrastructure that goes with that, you know, we were looking at a spot in El Segundo for flying taxis and got really into the weeds on the power demands. And as those things are now going to hydrogen electric generation, I would be really curious to see how that fits in. Because some of the things that some of our multi-year transport improvements might be somewhat obviated if that technology becomes viable. So I think, David, if somebody could come in and just speak to us a little bit about the wickets of what those things entail besides a show and tell of a flying car, but like, no, you actually need, this is what you need for megawatts, and this is how long they take to charge, or this is what the hydrogen electric generation does to that. Anybody else? All right, that gets us through May.
Yeah, gives us some things to work from.
Then you get the whole summer off, no presentations, 10-minute meeting. We'll just talk about the sea line. K-line, sorry.
Don't confuse them.
Can we go back to colors? Why don't we get rid of colors? That was so much easier. Like, what do we call the silver line now with the electric buses? Isn't that the silver? It's the white, that's now the J?
Yeah.
Are the buses still silver? Yeah, the Jolt line. Because they got the Jolt 9 million pound electric buses tearing up the road. Okay, J. Got it. J, no silver J. All right. Look ahead. Any questions on attachment D, the plan that I think we just markedly changed?
It's not on here, but in May, we will have Metro here to present on their budget like we do every year. We're hopefully gonna have Metro to present next month on the mobility concept plan. And an update from Caltrans on the Vincent Thomas Bridge project. They're getting ready, pretty close to closing that thing down, I think later this year, for the big project. So we'll have 2 updates in March. I think we're gonna save most of April for the Measure M program update, and Measure R program, transit program update, since the Measure M one will probably be a large discussion for everybody, so.
Can we make sure in April, when we have the Air Force Base talk, they're working on a privatization plan for the Fort MacArthur housing and how that would affect their transport load on people going back and forth. I'd be really curious to hear about that. We met with the Department of the Air Force last month on privatization stuff. So I'd be very curious to see if their number of facilities, if they think they're going to contract some of those. Like, they have a contracting base or contracting office in Carson that I don't think anybody knows about. I mean, it's like a guy from World War II lost on the island who doesn't know the war's over. It's like, who's in that office? Like, we're not sure. I mean, they were out talking to me and I was like, it's not in El Segundo. Like, well, where is it? It's like, give me the address. Straight out in Carson. Yeah, no kidding.
David,
yes.
Sorry, could we also ask Caltran to talk to us about the reconstruction of PCH? I believe they started doing that and they are having a pre-construction meeting, and it would be good for them to come and update us about the scheduling of PCH reconstruction. It goes through El Segundo.
Yeah, well, they presented to the IWG not too long ago, so we'll reach out to them and have them present, I think, in the Transportation Committee. And you're right, they are scheduling a construction kickoff with all the reps from all the cities for it's the North project. So it's Torrance, Redondo, Manhattan, Hermosa, El Segundo in the South Bay.
Jackie,
I'm sorry. I was wrong about the Metro Service Council person that's it's not District 2. It's Bob Wolf, who's a representative from, I think, City of Hermosa Beach, right?
I believe that's correct. Wouldn't want to lose him.
all right, anything else?
The chair. What about the 105 Express Lane, you know, the whole mess they have over there?
Oh, yes, you want an update on it?
Yes.
Okay. I think we got one, might have been a year and a half ago at this point, so it's probably time for another one. Okay.
Yeah, I had a minor fit during that one. All right. This one I'll just be wearing my told you so hat. Don.
We were informed that the high-speed rail EIR closed earlier this week or last week. I don't quite understand why we're doing an EIR for the high-speed rail, but it included just going from Union Station down to Anaheim. And we tried to push that they should also have a stop in Norwalk because at the Metro line station there, because theoretically the C line will eventually go over Norwalk and meet there, and that would be a junction that we would think would be important for a station. All of this doesn't really seem real to me because I didn't think that was really going forward. And yet we got a staff putting together an EIR at Metro and now headed towards an FEIR. Can we hear about that?
I
don't
will
know.
file
Is
that under
anything?
today. I learned. I had no idea that was a thing.
Stick with me.
Yeah. Never cease to amaze me. Love trains.
This was
Hey, are they selling tickets for 2090?
EIR for the high-speed rail. Maybe it's the high-speed rail.
Or high-speed rail? There's nothing slower than high-speed rail. Anything else? Elias, if you're still there, can you email me Aaron from Vector Control's email address? Totally El Segundo business, sorry, but I got somebody for his board. All right, anything else?
I'm sorry, Mayor.
Aaron Art, whatever from Vector Control, can you send me his email address?
Okay,
Got it?
Bill's email or Aaron?
Aaron, please.
Okay, sure, be glad
Thank
to.
you, sir.
I do that right now, sure.
Send them both.
Send them both. Send them. We'll email everybody. All right. Anything else? All right. With that, at 11:35, we are adjourned.